Hey there, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with some ideas and insights what to pay attention to when you are growing and scaling your business. So today I want to talk a little bit more about the real reason why most businesses don't have enough sales and drive enough results and how to change this going forward. We started talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and this is a really hot topic and a really important one for you to pay attention to, whether you are the only one who is driving sales, whether you have a sales team or you're building a sales team, or you have an overall team that's not performing at the level that they could. Because, look, sales is one activity that the entire team could be driving. And for most companies, for most businesses, that's just not the case. It's always focused on either you, the business owner, or the sales team, sales organization. But the rest of the team somehow kind of doesn't really float, whatever, with that idea, because they have never been taught, or they have never been given the awareness or shared the awareness with that they actually have quite a stake in participating in sales, in revenue, in all these activities that could really help the business make a whole lot more money. So everybody, when you think about team performance, the sales team tends to be top of mind because, of course, it drives cash flow, which is the blood of your business, right? So 2 weeks ago, we talked a little bit about how to take your entire team and create a sales culture where everybody understands on the team how their role participates and contributes to profit, what their role has to do with increasing or decreasing cost, where you actually teach them a fair amount of business acumen so that they understand really how the business works, how all the different pieces work together, and so how they have a hand in that, how their role adds to revenue, profit, costs, and all that stuff, right? So it's crucial that everybody on the team understands how they have a role in this. They need to understand how they either increase or decrease cost, how they increase or decrease profit. And you might be asking, you know what, Simone, that's all great. I love the idea, but how on earth does that have anything to do with my team? Why would they care? I don't really have, for a lot of our clients, a lot of our customers, they don't really have necessarily full-on sales team. It's generally the business owner doing a lot of the selling, or there's like one person who focuses on it. But the rest of the team is kind of like lost in la la land, and nobody ever talks to them about how they have a role with whatever they're doing. Either they are customer facing and they have an active role in sales, or even when they're not customer facing. So why would they care, right? So let me go back to that for a second, because a lot of you have asked this, why, I have kind of this lower level team, or, my team are just laborers, or, I just have this admin team. Why would they care, and how can they even make a difference? So think about how you produce sales, right? There's everybody on the team can actually contribute to increasing that number, increasing that activity, supporting that activity. So if everybody in their own role understands how they can help, either they themselves can drive milestones, or they can help the team drive milestones, how they can, like I said, reduce costs or increase revenue. Well, if they understand how to do that, and they actually do that, that means they could actually earn a piece of the pie. And that's really good news for you and for them, because it gives them the opportunity to increase their earnings, and it increases your earnings. So it's only a great idea to when you drive that focus, when everybody understands how they can participate in that focus and what benefit comes out of that for them, well, why wouldn't they step up? So this is kind of throwing them a new focus, a new challenge, and also a new opportunity, which I believe, and I've seen this on my team, and I've seen this on our customers' teams who are participating in this practice. You'd be surprised how many people on your team would actually appreciate that opportunity and embrace that challenge, and they would show up at an entirely different level than they're showing up now. So really start looking at your entire team like a sales team. So if you looked at every single role and how it participates and contributes in sales, how would you train your team? How would you speak to every single one of your contributors? So think about this. And this is not just a thought exercise for you. I want you and your leadership team to really dive into that, because your leadership team is going to have a big hand in emphasizing and enforcing this thinking in your entire organization. So it doesn't matter how big or how small your business is. This is the thinking that has to really penetrate through all the different layers of your organization. So everybody starts thinking about this the minute they walk in the morning, while they go to bed at night, whatever it is, right? But you want them to start taking an active role. You want them to start actively thinking about how they can actually participate in this. So think about how a sales team is set up, right? On a sales team, everybody has quotas. They're entirely commission based, or they have a base salary plus commission. But it's really important for everybody to hit numbers. And in a sales team, that is the emphasis. So what if that was the emphasis in your entire team? So what if everybody really shares this opportunity? So how would that work, right? So think about this. If everybody on the team starts tracking sales, and if all of them understand how they contribute to sales, how they raise LTV, lifetime value of client, how they, as we talked about already, reduce or increase costs. But if they look at, how can I participate in this role? How can I participate to increasing sales, to, making our customers happy so that they come back, that they get additional products that they would have never thought about, right? So this is kind of the thinking that if your team never gets introduced to that thinking, they will not come up with it. So it's up to you as a business owner to make sure that you actually help them think at this level. So giving them kind of the understanding of how these things all work. And then setting expectations, just like anybody on a sales team would have really clear goals and expectations. Think about the rest of your team. What if you gave them a certain number, a certain percentage of your revenue, whether it's gross or net revenue, doesn't matter. But think about, like, if everybody on your team participated in this selling activity, what percentage of your gross or net would it be worth it to you to give to them so that they show up at that level? And when you're really honest with yourself and you really step in on this, you would be surprised what you can do, what they can do, and how they can contribute, and how it's an absolutely valuable way to start training and focusing your team. So what does it really take to shift your culture? Well, for one thing, repetition is everything, especially if this is nothing that you've been talking to your team about. This is like, you're going to have to introduce them to the thinking. You're going to have to tell them why you're thinking that way. You're going to have to help them connect the dots, like what do they have to do with that, how they can actually step into that. So it takes repetition, it takes training, it helps reviewing their activities, and it absolutely is important to give people feedback once they operate on that level. So repetition, training, review, and feedback. So again, I want to keep coming back to this really very important point. What if every single person on your team worked like this? So, it's easy to establish that kind of thinking and operation for your customer facing people because, of course, they have a big hand in sales. They have a big hand in people coming back, in people being satisfied, in people feeling like they're being taken care of, right? And people feeling like you're the best person, company, organization that they could possibly be spending their time and money with, right? But even when you take this into not customer facing roles, like some people who are kind of behind the scenes, who are taking care of the back end, to help them understand what the ways are that they support sales in the business, that they help support cash flow in the business, so that they can connect with the direct people and see, hey, how can I make your life easier? How can I give you better tools? How can I make sure that you have what you need so you can do a better job, so I can be your support system behind this? So when you think about how you build a sales culture, well, for one thing, it's, of course, hiring right. So whenever you hire people, you have to have that conversation on the front end. This can't be just like a surprise later on that this is the focus of your company. You want to hire somebody who already thinks that way, who's excited about the opportunity. So hiring the right people who come in already with the expectation that everybody's selling is a big focus in your company. Then, of course, you want to have ongoing training and help them understand and innovate and improve how they're stepping into that role so that they can truly participate in that. Then they need the support, the coaching, the feedback to make sure that the activities they're choosing to engage in are actually effective, that they're getting results out of this, that they feel like what they're doing is productive and that it's bringing results. And then it's you talking about this. You got to talk it up. You got to emphasize this in your communication all the time. So, this is kind of like a lot of our clients, when we first start talking about this, they say, hey, you know what? A lot of my people, they aren't gonna want to do this. They're not sales focused people. They weren't hired with this focus. And look, I can completely appreciate that. And I'm sure that you'll start talking about this and some people will not be comfortable. They will not like the idea. But as we've already talked about before, I don't really care. So this is the point where you're going to have to make a choice at some point and go, okay, to upgrade my team, and this is truly an upgrade, believe me. If I'm upgrading my team to have the entire teams have sales focus, to have a sales culture, a high performance culture, who would I want on my team with me and who's not the right fit anymore? And again, this is like, not every single person on your team can drive sales. There's truly roles that have nothing to do with that, but far more than you think right now. And that's really what I want you to start thinking about when you look at your roles, when you look at your people, when you look at how they could actually make a difference. So let's only talk about the ones who are in this seat, because what you want to do is, as you keep growing, as you keep hiring more, you want to bring more and more people on the team who have that focus. And as you top grade, meaning as you look at who's actually the right fit for you and who's not, the people who are not, you want to look at, these may be the people who don't have sales focus. So as you hire better people, as you upgrade the quality of your team, make sure that sales focus is one of the core principles that you drive when you have hiring conversations, when you're interviewing. So you have to talk about that. This has to be clear. This has to be out in the open. Otherwise, people will not stick with it. So, you know that overall, this is a conversation when you already have a sales team, because, of course, sales is the blood of your business. But I want you to think about, right now we're talking about how you drive results, like high-level results. What if that were the conversation with every single person on your team not even in terms of the sales focus, right? So if everybody, every role thought like a top performer, think about how much closer you'd be to your goals, how much closer you'd be to have an autonomous team that can lead your company without you. Tons, right? So this is really where, yes, I want you to really start focusing on building the sales culture all across the team. But what I'm really talking about is results that are driven by numbers, that come from clarity, that come from planning, that come from the really good fundamental business practices that make businesses do really well. So we just talked about how to do this across a sales team, but what if you had that practice in your entire team? And that's really what your most important thought is here, because Q3 is right around the corner. It's coming up right quick. And it's a great time to really get focused and shift some of the practices that are not working currently. So this is a good time for you to get focused. It's a good time for your team to get focused. And it's a good time to create these practices for yourself and for your team, so everybody starts thinking about a top performer. So you want to start with, and this is sales team and the rest of the team, everybody, right? Clear goals. What are clear goals for Q3? And when you think about goals, you want to make sure that they're SMART with 2 S's, right? So they're specific, but they're also shared all across the organization. They're measurable, they're aligned with your vision, aligned with all your other planning. They're resonant, as in everybody understands what this means, and they're timely. So time-bound, timely, specific, right? So you want to make sure that you spell out targets for everybody, your sales team, your sales focus team, and everybody else. Then, of course, you need to have a really good plan that outlines your core strategies, your activities, and the timelines to achieve those targets. So you as a leader, well, you have to help them understand how every single person, every single role participates in these strategies and goals. And then you want to get the entire team focused on how they participate in revenue generating activities, just like we talked about a minute ago. So once everybody understands what the clear goals are for Q3, what the core strategies, the plan is for how to achieve that, then we want to make sure they have the support, the focus, and the updated priorities every single week. So everybody, this is not just a conversation you have once, you keep having this conversation every single week, every single day, right? Because humans are forgetful, they get distracted, you might get distracted. So we have to reestablish these priorities, this focus every single week. So the conversation is really every single week, hey, what do they need to do better? What does everybody need to do better? And part of this conversation is also helping them to be strategic, to become strategic. Because if you've just been operating kind of with level 1 delegation, if you don't know what that means, search the rest of the shows, because I've talked about it a ton of times. So basic delegation is just where you tell people what to do, which means you put their brains kind of on pause. They're not really thinking. They're definitely not being strategic, and you want to help them to really start thinking strategically. So helping them to think strategically during the week, that means you have to have weekly action review meetings. We call them war meetings, because that's where everybody gets together. You look at the wins, you look at the challenges, you strategize together how to solve problems. You have one-on-ones with them to make sure that you can coach them, that you can help them improve, that you can help them up level. So there's a lot of stuff on you and your leaders, but it's the stuff that actually helps you leverage your time and your energy and not own all this, because that's generally the biggest problem, that you own everything, that you control everything, and your team just kind of gets the remnants of what needs to be worked on. But we want everybody to start thinking strategically and start acting strategically so that they can actually help you make big strides. So we had clear goals. We talked about the plan. We talked about the support structure behind it. And then another really good thing to teach your team is for everybody to have their own power hour. And it might not be a full hour for everybody, but every single person on your team should take some time at the beginning of the day to really sit down and strategize for the day. And part of that is thinking about, hey, how can I contribute to leads, sales, anything that's revenue producing, right? That should be first on their list to think about. So everybody, for some people, this is going to be more applicable than not, but for more people than you think, this is very much applicable. So help everybody where this makes sense to really understand, to think about what can you do to delight our customers, to improve our delivery, to connect with potential leads, with potential new customers, and to close potential leads and new customers. So that means they need to think forward, they need to follow up, they need to make sure they close the loop. So any of these conversations are important conversations, and it's up to you to teach them how to have those conversations. So we want to make sure, when you think about your strategic people who are already in strategic roles, they need to do that power hour every single day. And during that power hour, they focus entirely on what are the revenue producing activities that I'm going to focus on in the next hour. And that's most of the time reaching out to leads, connecting with leads, having conversations, making offers, and closing deals. And yes, and I'm talking about this for most people on your team, not just your salespeople. So that, and for your lower level roles, have your leaders meet with them, you meet with them, and you talk about what they can do to participate in these activities. So meet with them, help them brainstorm, train them, and make a plan. So you might just be having a 10-minute huddle every morning with them, or your leaders do. But again, the focus is on how's everybody going to focus on revenue producing activities today, on getting new leads, getting new sales, getting new customers, helping customers love us, so that the entire team participates in this activity. And then, of course, we need to make sure that everybody has certain practices that they own. Maybe, you have that power meeting we just talked about. Maybe people make little videos where they talk about things that worked for them, or they talk about strategies that they've worked before. Maybe they leave voicemails with wins. It's really important that everybody on the team understands, how do we drive this? And then, of course, a lot of companies have some sort of gamified approach for making this kind of stuff happen. They have contests. They talk about wins frequently. They help everybody understand what's working and what's not. So anyway, everything that I talked about today is really designed to help you understand how you can operate your entire team like a sales team across the board, so that everybody starts becoming high performers, and everybody starts looking at, how does what I do, how does that contribute to sales? How does that contribute to profit and revenue? So everybody has a different focus when they show up for the day, when they focus on what they need to do, and then everybody owns their hour or less than an hour every day to get focused and make sure that they know exactly what to do, so that they can actually participate in these activities. So we talked about having clear goals, making a supportive plan for those goals, making sure that everybody has the resources that they need, that they get the coaching that they need, and then that we have a daily focus practice and accountability practice, so everybody is focused on their goals every single day. So this is so crucial in increasing sales across the board and increasing your leverage as a business owner. I can't emphasize this enough. So if you want more help with this, we have a brand new program out that you can look up. I'll put the link below. It's our Bulletproof Business Builder. And the awesome thing is, for super busy people who can't really commit to taking the time for our more complex coaching program, this is something, if that's who you are, this is something where you can come in. This is where you get weekly trainings. We meet you where you are. So this is a bite-sized sort of weekly approach where we give you something every single week that you can immediately implement and immediately get some pretty fast wins. And you can immediately increase your leverage, which is really what we're focusing on, and help your team get better and better and better. So you also have weekly Q&As, you have weekly support, and you have a great community of people who are working on the same things with you. So if you want to know more about that, I'll put the link below, but it's really important. Like we just said, Q3 is coming up. You have the half the year left. Let's make sure that the rest of the year you're truly driving the most important activities, and you're doing it from the place of leverage, strategy, and focus. So I hope this helps. Again, I'll put the link below so you can check out what we have in store for you, and I will see you next time.